What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great week so far. Now, having a look at what is going on today, there's virtually no change in the chart since yesterday. You can see Bitcoin's up 0.4%. Now, this morning, we did actually have a beautiful bounce off of the $7,630 level, but you could see we got stomped out at around $8,154. Now, if you watched yesterday's video, we talked about the one thing that needed to happen for Bitcoin to have a bounce back, and it did have a bounce back. However, we're still being held down. So the question is this whale manipulation? Are they still selling more plus tokens? Is this actually time for Bitcoin to take a massive dump? Is it not the safe haven hedge that everybody thinks that it is? We're going to go into all that today specifically. I want to discuss the fact that we are actually at very critical levels right now. You can see Bitcoin is trying to have a little bit of a bounce back, so could be totally different by the time you watch this video, but I want to keep it super quick. I want to talk about the fact that we are basically hanging on by a thread right now, okay? And yeah, that's essentially what I want to go into today. But I also want to, it's not going to be all doom and gloom. There is actually some really good positives happening on the Bitcoin network right now. We do have some milestones. Also, the fact that we have there's a crypto bill actually in USA that's looking to potentially pass, which could be good for Bitcoin as well. And I also want to go into this really interesting article that came out. It's called, "If Bitcoin reaches 1 million, this means it's failed. Here's why." Now, this was a very interesting title for an article, and I thought it was something we should go into. So I am going to go into this a little bit later in the video, but if that sounds good to you, you know what to do. If you are not subscribed, well, we do this basically every single day. We give away a Ledger Nano S every single Monday. If you're interested, drop a comment below. Having a look at what is going on right now, there's a few gainers today, Loop Ring, Golem. So there are some altcoins up today. Overall, though, the markets are basically down. Bitcoin sitting at around exactly the same percentage that it, basically was sitting at yesterday. Now, what we needed to do yesterday essentially was close this CME futures gap. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, this is just a bunch of voodoo mysticism. What does it matter, these gaps? Well, regardless of whether or not you believe in them, they do usually close, and they often provide excellent opportunities for a trade. I mean, you can look right here, literally where we touched at around the $7,645 level on CME futures, all the way up to the pump to the top. That was almost a 7% gain. Now, granted, we have pulled back, and we're only up 3% since then, but I think the point that I'm trying to make is that whether or not you believe in these gaps, you can't deny the fact that they do close, and they do provide good opportunities for trading. But that's not essentially what we're going to talk about today. What I want to talk about is the fact that we had literally a perfect bounce off of this trend line, which was providing the support right here, with the exception of these, few little fake outs that we had. But pretty much that was holding us during this entire time from November to the beginning of January before we started the massive pump. Now, we do know that yesterday we had a lot of the plus token team potentially selling their tokens, right? But you will notice that we did also get supported here. But the reason that this level right here is so crucial is because if we zoom out, you can actually see that it is a very important trend line. And I actually circled back here that, yes, we can fall below it. For example, we did fall below it back here in August, September, and October of 2015. But essentially, without really that one time, we pretty much stay above this. In fact, it provided the absolute bottom for the crazy bear that we had in 2018 and the bottom that we had recently at the $6,400 level when we came down from 14K. And if I zoom in right now, you could see currently we are hanging on by a thread right now. So if we were to fall below this, would it be, long-term doom and gloom? No, it could actually potentially provide a great opportunity for some accumulation, right? However, having a look right here, even if we were to have a bounce back, we now have a lot of resistance overhead. We have this trend line right here, which is looking to stomp us out at around the $9,200 level. We also have this $9,350 level as well. So it's very difficult for Bitcoin moving forward. But what I want to discuss is not so much the short term, because you do need to zoom out. You do need to just have a look at the bigger picture. But I want to discuss this whole Bitcoin as a safe haven asset. I want to compare it to what we've seen in the charts recently, talk about the, virus, which shall not be named. And I did have a chart of the Dow pulled up earlier, but for some reason it kept freezing and screwing my computer up. So we are going to talk about that as well. But you can see that both the Dow and the S&P suffered their worst day since October 2008, falling 7.8% and 7.6% respectively. In fact, the Dow's 2013 point drop was the largest one-day point drop in its history. Now, we know that a lot of it probably has to do with all of these headlines for the virus that shall not be named. I'm not even going to go into it. You can see over here, essentially mortgage payments are suspended across the country of Italy right now, and they're basically urging their 60 million Italians to stay home. The only travel allowed will be for proven work reasons, for health conditions, or other cases if necessary. So this is obviously having a bit of a spillover into the markets. Lots of panic, and yes, it is affecting Bitcoin just a little bit, right? Just a little bit, right? Now, interestingly enough, you're hearing some people say that what the World Health Organization is saying is very bullish for Bitcoin. Come on, let's be honest here. Let's just see what this is about. They're encouraging the adoption of contactless payments. As such, they're basically raising a legitimate question. Could cryptocurrencies seize this opportunity? Now, let's be honest. They're talking mostly about things like Apple Pay, credit cards, things like that. But they do say that a possible solution for replacing the usage of physical cash bills comes directly from central banks. Now, if they do end up, utilizing cryptocurrencies, of course, this is going to be central bank digital currencies, right? It's most likely not going to be Bitcoin. However, we do have some good news for Bitcoin. We have some good news fundamentally, which I'm going to go over. And I want to talk about some news that came out from the US, which also could be good for Bitcoin moving forward. We're going to get into that in just a second. We do have the halving, right, coming up in 8,908 blocks very, very soon. Here's another chart that froze on my computer today. But essentially, you can see the Bitcoin difficulty has had another difficulty adjustment. If I zoom out over here, you can see essentially it's just been going up and up and up and up and up with the exception of a few pullbacks. So the network is looking healthy. This is saying that it's absolutely, well, it is the most secure it's ever been. Right? So yeah, Bitcoin obviously is the most secure network on planet Earth. But guys, Bitcoin is not a hedge against everything, right? Maybe not against a global meltdown. We don't know. We haven't actually seen Bitcoin in an actual recession or a depression. Bitcoin came out after 2008. It's really 2009 is when people started to slowly sort of adopt it and mine it. And that was during the very beginning of the start of the, recovery, you could say, right? So you can see though, but it ultimately does protect users from central banks, governments, and fiat printing. Now, I just want to point out what Hunter Horsley, CEO of Bitwise, said. He said that Bitcoin was performing much better than before versus the S&P 500 in particular at the time of his statement. The S&P was down 7.6%, right? Now, historically, if the S&P was to have a 7.6% dump, Bitcoin would have something around a 41% dump. Yes, it usually went that way, right? Yet in the last 24 hours, Bitcoin was only down 5% and only 0.5% at the time that he mentioned this, right? You also have AngelList CEO saying at the moment, Bitcoin is not a general hedge against every black swan and still behaves like a risk-on trade, but long-term, Bitcoin is a hedge against central banks printing money, which is inevitable as a reaction to the virus, right? Now, here's the good news, or you can kind of take this as some good news. You had Representative Paul Gosar from USA, obviously, introduce the Cryptocurrency Act of 2020. Now, this is a bill that's essentially going to look to choreograph a wide range of digital assets and answer to the appropriate regulators. So the bill looks to provide not only clarity, but legitimacy to crypto assets. Now, they're basically breaking it up into three categories. You have crypto commodity, cryptocurrency, and crypto security, which will be broken up and governed by the CFTC, FinCEN, and the SEC, right? Now, here's the interesting part. So the language of the bill seems to cement the status of digital assets like Bitcoin as crypto commodities rather than cryptocurrencies. The classification of cryptocurrency says that basically this is something that represents an actual currency or a synthetic derivative. So this is more similar to something like Tether or a stable coin, right? So even though it's not necessarily acknowledging Bitcoin as currency or as fiat or as a representative of fiat, it does look at it as a asset, as a commodity, right? As something similar to a stock, which could potentially be good moving forward. However, the story of the day, if Bitcoin reaches 1 million, this means it failed. Here's why. Let's have a look into this article. I found this to be quite interesting. So basically, you need to start with what is the intended purpose of Bitcoin. Well, the very headline of Bitcoin's white paper published by Satoshi Nakamoto is Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. right? So essentially, Bitcoin was designed to be used as a means of transaction. In other words, you go to your local coffee shop, you order your favorite double shot espresso and your chocolate croissant, and you pay your bill with 100 Satoshis, just for as an example. You don't care how much they're worth. You don't care because it doesn't matter. The vendor accepts Satoshis and has already priced in this product in Satoshis, which is one big issue that Bitcoin does not have right now, right? It's not a means of account. You can't, like, for example, what I'm trying to say is when you, even now, like, what are we doing? We're talking about Bitcoin in dollars, right? Oh, Bitcoin hit $8,000 today. Bitcoin hit 9,000. Bitcoin hit 4,000. But we don't price things in Satoshis. Like if I went to a store right now and went to go buy something and looked at the shelf and it was like 1,500 Satoshis, would anybody have any concept what that is? No. We have a long way to go until something like that happens, right? Now, here's the next part. If Bitcoin was priced at $1 million, well, that means that we're still measuring it in fiat currencies, which is the very thing that it aims to replace, right? So if it's the better money, why should we care what it's worth in the current not so good type of money? This is the author speaking. I do want to create a conversation around this. It says, essentially because you don't care about Bitcoin's intention, you only care about Bitcoin fiat value, and that, my friends, is called hypocrisy and speculation. Now, in all honesty, Bitcoin really has just been a lot of speculation. You know, we're speculating the price going up, we're speculating the price going down. And that's the harsh truth. Nobody's using it, not even these Bitcoin maximalists that you see on Twitter, except all they're doing really is stacking sats. Now, I do have a bit of a counter argument to this. Okay, yes, we are currently not spending our Bitcoin. I do understand there's lots of people out there that say, no, we have to spend our Bitcoin. If we don't spend our Bitcoin, it's never going to get adopted because spending it creates demand for it. Okay, I get that. However, you do know Gersham's law, right? Bad money drives out good, right? So essentially, just given the circumstance, if you have a piece of paper, okay, if you have a $100 bill or you have $100 worth of Bitcoin, you're more likely to spend the $100 if a shop will accept either, because you and I know inherently that Bitcoin is a harder form of money. It has more intrinsic value and it has more likelihood of going up over time versus fiat, which is just printed endlessly, and we know what inflation does, right? So you would probably choose not to spend the Bitcoin. So I think that actually comes down to the fact that we value it and we see the potential of it long term. So, you know, it is a double-edged knife, as they say. Here's one example. If you own 0.25 Bitcoin today, you're pretty much in the 1% of the people who own most of it, and that's impossible for that to change. So, by the way, if you own a quarter of a Bitcoin right now, pat yourself on the back, you are the 1%. Pretty incredible, right? Kind of cool. Imagine a world where 0.25 Bitcoin puts you in the 1% club. But here's the problem. If Bitcoin does become a multi-trillion-dollar market, it's going to be a regulatory storm. It's going to be madness. Classifying all of this, trying to figure out taxes, right? Sure, in theory, Bitcoin also could be distributed, but the question is it really? Most of the early people who got in own most of the Bitcoin. Not all these people are the most qualified, let's say, to be the richest people in the world, right? There's whales. Lots of them do whatever they want. They pump, they dump, they manipulate, right? So do you really want these people having all this money? Bitcoin that just basically gives power back to, you know, basically what we're trying to get out of right now, which is the 1% that have all the money in the real world. A lot of Bitcoins are concentrated in the hands of a small group or company as well. We see exchanges, they have tons of Bitcoin. We know guys like Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, I think they're getting like 1% of the daily amount coming out every day, or at least they were a few months ago when I checked. So they say the truth is that this creates the opportunity for certain people to own a major chunk of all Bitcoin and potentially do whatever they want to the entire system. That's not better than what we actually have right now. If you guys are interested, I'll drop this below. Not really going to go into it too much. You guys know my opinion on it, but I was curious to hear what you thought about it, and if you think that if Bitcoin reaches 1 million, this actually means that it failed. Let me know what you guys think. We are right at the cusp, though. We are right at the level of support. Very critical level. This could absolutely be the greatest opportunity for Bitcoin accumulation we've ever seen, or it could be the beginning of something very, very nasty. Let me know what you guys are doing below. I do appreciate your support. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You are the reason that I do this every single day. Sorry if the video came out maybe a little bit late today. Like I said, I was having some problems with my computer. Totally forgot to mention the ledger. If you're interested, drop a comment below. We give away a ledger every single Monday. That's it for today. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. My name is K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.